Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? Well, we'll be vibing out as per usual. You know what uninteresting thing happened to me today is the fact that I've noticed that my nail polish has started to chip a little bit. You know, happens. This is the same nail polish I had for like 2 weeks or something. I painted it like a sort of bright pinkish colour, you know, for Valentine's Day, you know, fit the theme of that sort of thing. But I noticed it started making a very rough texture underneath my actual, on my actual fingernail itself. I'm not really sure what's up with that, to be honest. I'm not that into nail care, so I don't really know what's going on. But you know, I guess I'll take off a nail polish later today. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, 6:08 PM on Friday, February 24th, 2023. With this staying at the campsite, we are going to promptly ignore. So sorry, villager, I'm out of here. What can we talk about today? I don't really know. I feel a little bit tired today. I'm not like supremely sleepy or anything. I'm just like, you know, a bit more low energy than usual. Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. I don't really know. Who knows? Who cares? We're here. We're vibing. We're having a good time. Hopefully, and I'm just trying to think of something to particularly talk about. Like what have I saw? What have I seen? I'm just like, whoa, this is something to talk about. This is exactly what I want to talk about. I don't really know, you know. There's not really much going on in sort of gaming news for all the games I personally play apart from the Genshin thing, but again, I'm not gonna go into that in my monologue. Remember that? I think I already spoke about that recently, but the Taylor Swift singing about Kanye West. Kind of forgot that's the thing. It's kind of crazy how quickly memes sort of just like come and die, you know. I mean, Kanye West is incredibly cancelled now for very good reason, might I add. But I kind of forgot like about the whole thing, like, you know, during, I don't even know what awards it was. He just went on stage and went like, I'm gonna let you finish, but whoever it was, like Beyonce had the best music video of all time. So it's just wild, weird. Is probably how I describe it, but oh well, you know, that's just life. That's not really what I mean, but you know, that's just sort of like my go-to phrase whenever I'm just like, that's just life. I feel like there was a game I wanted to talk about. I don't remember what it was though, or something I wanted to talk about. It's completely gone from my memory now, so you know, we're sort of just like fishing around aimlessly to try and find something to talk about. I guess we could talk about fishing. I don't know if I've ever actually spoken about fishing before. I feel like it's a bit misleading talking about fishing in an Animal Crossing video when I'm not actually fishing or anything like that, but you know, so be it, or maybe not be it. What did I want to talk about? There was some video I watched recently. Actually, there was a video I watched recently sent to me by my friend. It was like a Trash TV, Trash Taste. Wait. I don't know, it's those YouTubers who are like I've heard of one of them before. I can't remember his name, but so much for actually hearing of him. But they like live in Japan and do like a podcast. There's 3 of them. I don't know their names. I know one of my friends, they sent me it, and it was pretty entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. It talks a lot about experience of one of these people going to Japan to teach English and that sort of thing. And you know, it's crazy. You know, he did it. Northern Line did it, except for Northern Line did it for Korea. I don't know anyone else who did it. I don't know. Would I be? I wonder if I'd make a good teacher. Because it is, as I understand it, it's basically a sort of thing where it's like, oh, you know, you go to this country, you speak English as an English speaker, or sort of, and then you know that's kind of like your job for a bit. I don't mean that like a dismissive, like oh, what kind of job is that? I mean, like I don't really know any more details about that, to be perfectly honest. I guess you're sort of an exchange teacher, but now I think about it, I'm trying to think about like exchange teachers we had like back in our school or whatever. No, obviously we didn't learn Japanese in our school. We learned French, German, and Spanish. Just secondary school it is. In primary school we learned a bit of French. No, that was about it. But even then, French wasn't that great. I remember we ended up learning French with like an interactive, not an interactive whiteboard, but it was like some website, which I wish I remember the name of, because that's where the Happy Birthday song that I always talk about in French comes from. But I generally don't remember what the site's called. But anyway, you know the song I always sing where it goes, aujourd'hui c'est mon anniversaire, j'ai un cadeau comme un grand frère. You know, maybe if I search that it'll come up, but I don't think it will, to be honest. But anyway, it was like, was it like Lingo Star or something? I think that was a different one. I think that's what we did for Spanish. Anyway, today is my birthday. I'm just typing into Google Translate. Aujourd'hui c'est mon anniversaire. I have a present from my older brother. J'ai un cadeau de mon grand frère. Okay, now let's see if this comes up. Aujourd'hui c'est mon anniversaire. Qu'est-ce que c'est que vous... No, this is quoi? I don't know if it'll come up. I don't know if this even exists. Does anyone even know what I'm talking about? It was some animated thing. And it was this girl. I don't even know how to describe her. She had like a cartoon blonde hair. Is this it? C'est mon anniversaire? Quand, petite? I don't think so. Text anniversary humoristic. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. It's the sort of things, you know, people like to say, if it's on the internet, it's there forever. But I suppose with how, you know, big the internet is nowadays, and you know how quickly technology, I suppose, gets antiquated, things aren't necessarily on the internet forever. It's like technically on the internet forever, but you know, if no one like backed it up, if no one like saved it into like an internet archive or anything, it's gone, isn't it? Just like a song, just like this Aujourd'hui song, which I keep singing but never exists. Anyway, we learned French about it, but I think actually back in secondary school we had like assistant teachers who were like, well, one of them was French. I think she did both French and Spanish. I don't know if she was actually like from France/Spain. I didn't really know her that well. Like, you know, I knew like the maths teachers and science teachers very well, probably because I was like the subjects I was best in, and those are subjects that, you know, the teachers are much more lax to me. French was actually my worst subject, I think. Not like extremely worst. So it wasn't like I couldn't do the assignments or anything. I still got an A star, I think, at GCSE, but it was one where I was not look, okay, I'm interested in foreign languages to an extent, but I feel like, you know, me and my teacher, we didn't have the same sort of like synergy with each other. Not so much that he was a bad teacher, not so much that I was a bad student. It's just like, I don't know, when sometimes you just don't jive with a certain teacher. I just didn't jive with him for my GCSEs. Now, my previous GCSE French teacher, she was great, from what I remember. we jive very well, but I don't know. I mean, like, foreign languages is cool, you know, but I definitely do not have enough passion for them to put in the effort that you actually need to like properly learn them, I would suppose. Unless I had like a structured system and like had attended regular classes of that sort of thing. Like, you know, perhaps it's very selfish of me, but it's just like, oh, I just kind of wish I was like, omnilingual. Even though, you know, obviously that's a little bit ridiculous. It's just Peppa Pig videos now. When I'm looking at videos. What if I look at images? I don't know. I just want to find it because I want to know it exists. I didn't just make this up in my primary school days. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Ouvre la paquet. Un araignée. Ah, c'est non pas gentil. Non, merci. Do you think this chorus question is it? My glasses dirty. Hold on, I think there's a bit of my glasses. This is a bit of my glasses. Anyway, about that exchange teacher, who I don't even know if she was an exchange teacher or not, to be perfectly honest. She was just someone who helped out. I think it was a different teacher, assistant teacher, I suppose, for German. But she was basically one who did all the speaking and this conversation sort of assignments with. I remember you go to class for whatever amount of time, and then the teacher would be like, okay, you 6 or whatever, go see her name, and I'm not going to say her name, let's just say her name was like Amelie or something. Go to Amelie's like room. She had like a specific like language center room, which for some reason was nowhere near the language classrooms. It was like in the English language department. I don't know why it was there, but whatever. It was like these smaller office things, and then we went there and we did like speaking assignments. But the thing is, the teacher like never really tracked who went or who didn't go. So it was basically, if you in the class went, yeah, you know, I haven't gone for ages, he was like, all right, you go, or whatever. So, you know, I didn't do that, obviously, because I didn't like lying, I suppose. I didn't want to be like, oh, you know, I haven't gone for ages, or like, no, because that's not true, because I definitely didn't go much. But I wasn't like, you know, particularly fussed if I went or didn't go. I'd be like, you know, when it comes my turn, no, it'll be my turn to go. So I never really particularly said anything. So I went very, very infrequently from what I remember. It's because people like to go to her because it's sort of like you're getting out of lessons. Except for, that doesn't make sense to me because you're still in lessons. You're just in a different lesson. Like, I guess I get it if you... Excuse me? Hello? Dracon? I get it if you prefer speaking assignments over like writing assignments or like reading assignments or whatever. But it's not really that much different. You're not really getting out of class. I guess because it's just kind of different, it's exciting. Which most people are like, whoa, you know, it's different and exciting, thus better than regular classes, which I can understand the logic of. I can very much understand the logic of. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't really remember all too much of what happened when we went to like her room to do these conversation things. But I remember we used to have our speaking coursework assessment with her, because if you don't know, for like foreign languages, at least when I did, I don't know if it's still the case now, you basically had to have, there's 4 different categories. You had reading, writing, which are both like timed assessments. Reading and listening, which are both timed assessments you have like during exams week. Writing, which you have to write coursework for, which is basically you have it happened throughout the term where you was like, okay, for this lesson you're writing your coursework, you know what the prompt is beforehand, basically, and you can prepare it. So basically it's just sort of like reciting exactly what you wrote down. Well, if you were prepared enough to write that stuff before, you would write down basically exactly what you prepared beforehand and memorized, essentially. And whatever I did in those writing assessments, I would always just, obviously I'm a very prepared person, so I wrote down my like essay I was going to write. It wasn't like that long an essay. It was probably only a couple hundred words, I'd imagine, or like a page long. Got my teacher to correct it and mark it, and then I'd just like rewrite that in the actual exam conditions. But then you sort of sit around for a while, you get a little bit bored, because you're allowed a dictionary. At least we were allowed a dictionary. A dictionary doesn't really help you that much. It only kind of helps you if you forget like certain vocab. If you're like, oh, I forgot what word for glasses was, then you'd be like, okay, yeah, you can look it up. But that's kind of what it's used for. But it's not really going to tell you how to conjugate certain verbs, except for the dictionaries, or in theory, except for the dictionaries that we use did have like a middle section, like a grammar section, where it was just like, oh, this is like some interesting phrases you can say or whatever. So after I basically finished writing my essay, I'd basically have a peruse through that section and be like, can I fit any of these interesting phrases, I suppose, into my essay, and spice it up a little bit. But like all these, like we haven't properly learnt like we would definitely love a perfect tense. That's the impartial. What's it called? It was imperfect, but I don't really remember the definitions of tenses, and you just sort of throw it in there because why not? The only thing I remember about the imperfect tense is quand j'étais petit, which means when I was little. Because that you're meant to use the imperfect tense for whatever reason. I don't really remember, to be honest. But that's what I did anyway. And then the final thing was with the speaking assessments, which is basically, it's the same sort of format as the writing assessments. You know beforehand what it's going to be, you prepare what it is, and you get it marked by the teacher, and then you go to the teacher, the assistant teacher, to be like, hey, I'm here to do my speaking assessment. She starts recording, and then you just do it. For whatever reason, I remember like my assessments, not all of them. One of them was talking about like weather, I think. And I'm not sure technically what the actual category is, but I believe it was about weather, because I remember I talked about snow, and I was like, it's snowing, so I went to go make a snowman or something. Or like, and then I was just like, I like cold weather over hot weather or something, these very sort of like generic phrases that you say whenever you're learning a foreign language, and not the most deepest thing in the world. If you actually had a conversation with someone and this is what they said to you, you'd be like, huh? I guess. So basically what I'm saying is it's not particularly conversational. It's just not particularly applicable to real life. In fact, now I think about it, that's the only... I said I remember my speaking assessments. That's currently the only one I remember, so maybe I don't remember them as well as I thought I did. It feels like my glasses have like a smudge on them. Or maybe my eyes have a smudge on them. Is that clean? Oh, okay, who's here? That looks like it's Freya! We have you on Happy Home Paradise. You're a fantastic villager as well. Look at those lashes. Look at that eyeshadow. You can't tell me that Freya is not top tier villager. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. Anyway, we did speaking assessments with her. I remember one time, one of the assessments. I don't know if it was the same assessment as that temperature, when I said something she didn't really understand, but we laughed at it anyway. Anyway, I remember she, like, after she did it, like, it's marked out of 20, where 90% is A star, 80% is A, and every 10% downwards is down 1 grade. Where she gave me 16 out of 20. She was like, it's a very tenuous 16 out of 20. And I was like, all right, I'll take it, like A grade or whatever. I can still get an A star as long as I do better in the exams or whatever. And then I remember, I think I've told this story like countless times already. Basically, what they do for schools whenever they do assessments, because they're marked by the teachers, aren't they? Is that the examining board is just like, well, we don't really want the teachers just to be randomly submitting any sort of like super high grades, even like everyone ends up with an A star, obviously. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the teachers to send in a random sample of assessments to be like, and then we'll manually check them and see if your scoring matches up. And if your scoring does match up, then we'll take your scores as is. If all the like a large percentage of a sample size we think has been marked too generously, we'll bring all your scores down, and vice versa. So there certainly is an incentive for. Oh yeah, we haven't talked to Sahara for like ages. Why not? For teachers to mark things properly. I remember my one was one of the ones which was like randomly sent off, and I was a little bit worried about it, not like particularly nervous, I suppose, but like I was like, oh no, I really like barely got a 16. There was no out of 20. There's no way they're going to look at my speaking assessment and be like, oh, they're going to look at it like I'm going to go down a grade essentially. And I was like, oh, I don't really want that to happen. That's going to make it even harder, I suppose, to get a good grade. GCSEs, not that it really matters in the end anyway, I'm going to be perfectly honest. But I remember when it came back, and then my speaking and my writing assessments, which both got 16 out of 20s, got bumped up to 18s out of 20s, and I was like, whoa! I got bumped up to an entire grade through my my speaking assessments, and that allowed me to get an A star in French. Because I don't think my writing, if I got my 16s out of 20s, I don't think my other assessments would have been high enough to pull an A star. It was very much a borderline A star in French. Anyway, so. Maybe she was a bit of a harsh critic and she realised. Or maybe, my ongoing theory is because I tried to do very, like, bold things. I tried to go off curriculum to be like, oh, look for, like, unusual phrases, or, like, I use harder vocab. Because, classic me, a little bit of an overachiever. That's just what I tried to do. And probably, when she heard it, she was like, it wasn't particularly executed well, it didn't pay off. But maybe when the examiners heard it, they were just like, we've got to give credit that they actually very almost pulled us off or something, or like it was pretty close or something. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she was just a super harsh critic. I don't really know. At the end of the day, I got my grades, so, and if anything, it was more beneficial because the rest of the class possibly got their grades bumped up a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, it's a story how I got an A star in French GCSE. Not that it really matters now, because one, we don't have the letter grades anymore, and two, I've not spoken French for however many years, so I've forgotten most of it. Apart from random phrases like quand, petite, and random vocab words here and there, which had basically no bearing on my life. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I've not needed to speak French in like an emergent situation. I never needed to be like, I was going to say donde está la biblioteca, but that's obviously Spanish. I don't know what the French sort of phrases that people always use. Because, donde está la biblioteca? I don't know why that's caught on as such like a meme phrase for Spanish. And necessarily, I don't know what the French equivalent of that is in particular, but quand j'étais petit is probably that for me. Because that's definitely one of the ones I just remember for really no apparent reason. Let's see. Donde está la biblioteca? Spanish rap, know you mean? Oh, okay, it's a Spanish rap from an NBC sitcom series Community. Oh, I see. It's from Community. That's why people do it. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, oh my god, the Joy-Con just going crazy. Well, okay, I was going to sit down and wave goodbye, but I guess we'll round up this episode here. I don't even know what I'm going to call this, like, language speaking assessments, maybe. I don't really know. Anyway, I'll think of something. If you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, description, shares are greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, au revoir. Let's see, not all the French knowledge is dead, huh?